The Books Podcast, presented by Tim Hague.
Welcome to the Books Podcast. I'm Tim Hague. Before we start, can I make a request without sounding too, needy? If you enjoy the show, please do, as the social media convention has it, like us. I was doing air quotes there in case you didn't hear it. And it would be very kind to share us to your extensive social media contacts. It all helps to grease the wheels. Oh, and if you have any thoughts about the conversation, we would be absolutely thrilled if you would pile in a comment. For this episode, we're talking to Booker Prize winner Sir Ben Okri, and I freely admit we're pretty excited about that.
I've always seen a relationship between power and sorcery. I think we're desensitized to all kinds of violence. Violence to people's sanity, violence to people's dignity, violence to people's gender, race. We're living in a time of pervasive violence that we take for granted. It's a vote of faith in the ultimate powerlessness of power.
I ask you, gentlemen of the jury, is this the kind of book you'd like your wives and servants to read?
Now, Ben, you're not our first Booker Prize winner, but I think you are our first Knight of the Realm. So thank you for joining us on Books Podcast.
Absolute pleasure, Tim. Absolute pleasure.
I'm going to get into trouble if I try and place your writing in a category, aren't I? Yeah, I mean, you're on record in not liking... you don't want to be associated with, like, the magical realist. That's not where you see yourself. What shall we call it?
Ben Okri.
We'll just call it Ben Okri writing.
Yeah.
Good enough for me.
Yeah. We'll go along with what the critics say. We'll go along with their magical realism until someone is able to actually sort of distill... a truer...
a better term.
Better, more imaginative, more fitting term, I think.
A slightly less condescending one.
A slightly less reducible one.
In the course of the novel, one of the characters comes across a peculiar map, which as you unfurl it, it gets bigger and bigger, and as it says in the book, it is a liminal map. It adjusts itself to the terrain. It becomes the landscape you're in. Now, what should we understand by it?
It is a map that is neither of this material world or of any other. It's a map of a between space. I'm bringing together in this novel a kind of conjunction of time. I'm dealing with past, present, and future. And they're all mixed in. And that is because I'm trying to tell a story that is outside of this time in which you're in right now, but also of it. As I keep saying, when people ask me about this novel, it's a novel that has been written under the specter of unspoken censorship. And what happens with the writer when you write under this feeling that you can't quite say what you want to say in an ordinary way is that you then have recourse to an imaginary way of telling your story. You use displaced techniques. And the displacement in this particular case is a time displacement. And therefore you have elements of the past, present, and the future. Just to scatter time about a little bit so that my story can float in the midst of it, free from this spectre of censorship.
You have other techniques as well. You have a sort of a syndetic technique, especially at the beginning, by which I mean little vignettes, moments, almost like sketches, succeeding one another that are building to each one is a little picture, but it's building to a bigger picture. It's not the... You remember what Maddox Ford said about the progression d'effect, where everything has to get faster and faster and build. That's not the way you're approaching it, because you're drawing these other things in.
Yes, and it's also a collage technique. It's also a technique of swift realities, swift images, swift moments, because I'm trying to paint a picture of a world. So I need to give you these little pictures, these little images, so you get this flickering feeling. It's a novel about speed in many ways. It's about speed, but also about slowness. It's about power and the way in which power and sorcery affect time and affect people's perception of time and of space. So I needed all these techniques to show something of the brokenness of the landscape as well.
There were a couple of keynotes that I want to address, and they are magic and violence. And I want to start off with violence. This is, we're in a place called Neverreach, which is where the journey starts for the main characters. Neverreach is sort of under siege by this awful empire, really. It's a land of astonishing violence, really quite casually administered, isn't it?
It's a time of violence. It's a takeover period. It's a period when a big power is taking over a smaller power, partly against its will and partly with the support of the politicians of some of the politicians of the land. So it's a very divided land, but one that is being swallowed by a boa constrictor, to borrow a figure from my daughter's fairy tale. And so the violence is part of the landscape, part of the oppression, part of the modern form of colonialism. It's a modern colonialism in a way.
And you successfully get the violence across by, it's almost matter of fact. Sometimes you'll have a murder in half a sentence. You'll have there's a moment when there's a pregnant woman's about to give birth and she's trying to stop it because she was raped. And this is emblematic very much of the violence of the times. Are we desensitized, do you think, to the depersonalized violence in the world?
Yes, I think we are, I'm afraid. I think we're desensitized to all kinds of violence. Violence to people's sanity, violence to people's dignity, violence to people's gender, race. We're living in a time of pervasive violence that we take for granted. We hear in the news of violence done to people across the seas, people bombed and killed in great numbers. And we accept it as a fact of the world. We've become, as you say, profoundly desensitized. And this has happened because of the way in which the news, both the digital news and the mainline news, reaches us, bombards us, so that we are no longer able to treat the horrendous facts of this world with the emotional depth that they require from us. And I wanted to compress all of this feeling of violence of our times into this one landscape, into this one universe.
I wanted to talk about magic as well, because you do magic particularly well. It's not quite your stock in trade, is it? But it's a necessary part of the world that you inhabit. And obviously, you're English and Nigerian. It's very much, I'm going to say, is it characteristically African magic? Is it distinctively African?
No. The magic here is, I can only refer to it as the sorcery of an extreme kind of power. I've always seen a relationship between power and sorcery. Certainly, power has a way of affecting our sense of the way effects reach us. Power has a way of distorting the gravitational field around suffering, around pain. And I just that's what I wanted to express. How power blurs our sense of causation. So, yes, I've borrowed a bit from the African sense of magic, but I've also borrowed from the English sense of magic.
Do you think there's magic here in Clerkenwell, where we're recording this?
Oh, no, I'm talking of Old England.
Old England.
Not much magic in modern England, I'm sorry to say. There could be a bit more. No, I'm drawing upon Old England magic. And there are vestiges of it, bits of it still floating around in Shakespeare. Even by Shakespeare's time, that magic was already diminished.
It's quite difficult to talk about it because without your exact words, the ideas and images can be lost when I try to paraphrase them. There's a passage in chapter 3. Would you read just a couple of paragraphs, perhaps to give a brief flavour?
In the dead of night, the woman lifted the baby up to the heavens And from the sky, from a chain of stars, a parabola of a white line poured into the mouth of the child. The mother fed her baby the milk of the stars. The baby drank for a long time, and when it stopped, the white line vanished into the heavens. The mother rocked the baby till it fell asleep.
Most of the characters don't have names. Some do, but they're often represented by like just a description or their status. It's somebody's father, or it's an innkeeper or something.
There is a power around naming, I find, in literature. And I wanted to use it very, very sparingly. All the characters in this book, the 4 characters, and the 4 is not an accident. The 4 characters are named after a particular kind of alchemical tradition.
Oh, right.
Yes. They're Mel, Apibus, Dat, D-A-T, Rosa. You can do a bit of research. You will come upon the phrase at some point. And it's a famous alchemical phrase. And it has to do with the bees and honey and the rose. So these 4 characters who are on a quest. They're on a quest through this landscape to find the witch in order to help wake the warriors. Each of the 3 characters have been profoundly wounded in some way.
Well, they've all lost
They've
people.
all lost people.
Within the beginning of the novel.
Absolutely.
Usually family.
Lots of family.
Yeah.
Their land, their livelihood, even in some cases their identity. So they're all suffering. They're all people who have lost something, and they're flung out into this landscape, and they have to complete their quest as part of the overarching necessity of the land.
The quest stands for something else as well,
renewed.
though, because the ones who survive, particularly these 3 characters, they're the ones who are on the move. The people who stay, Mel's mother says, "No, I'm not going to. I'm going to stay here. I'll just die sooner." Rosa's father, sister, and mother are all murdered by this army that's sweeping across the land, and wreaking absolute havoc. It's slightly mysterious. It's extremely violent. Some of them have got jackal faces. There's an implication at the beginning that it's a mask, but then Rosa tries to remove the mask and can't. They really are jackals. And indeed, later on, a victim is devoured whole by 3 of these. So what are we to understand by the jackal-headed or jackal-faced soldiers? Because it's not all of them.
I think what you're meant to understand is what you feel when you read it. This is not a book in which an explanation like that can be given.
Fair enough.
That's why I said to you earlier on at the beginning that it's very much an intuitive novel. It's a novel I'm translating in a story, in a narrative, my deepest feelings about our times. And the jackal-headed figures represent a certain kind of rapacious energy, a certain kind of power without conscience, a certain kind of obedience, a certain kind of soldiers who obey without humanity. And we have a lot of them at this particular time in the world.
But the jackal-headed ones are a problem, but when our heroes come across, and especially Rosa, she is quite successful in resisting their violence. She's not the immediate victim. And is there an epigram or something that says, I'll see if I can find it. The weakest thing in the world can overcome the strongest thing in the world. Lao Tzu, is the epigram
That's
to
right.
the book.
That's right.
Which is a vote of faith in the future, isn't it?
No, it's not a vote. It's not a vote of faith in the future. It's a vote of faith in the ultimate powerlessness of power, or a vote of faith in something greater than power to overcome power, or something greater than force to overcome force. And you can call that thing many things. You could call it history, you could call it resilience, you could call it time, you could call it the way in which people survive the depredation and degradation. You could call it many names, but there is something that appears to be weak, but it overcomes that which appears to be strong.
Well, that which appears to be strong is Tanas. He's the president of this rapacious worldwide empire. Tell me about Tanas, because obviously I have put a construction upon him.
Well, I hope you've not put a wrong construction.
I hope not.
No, Tanas is for me a representation of let's call it the new imperialism that's sweeping the world, and it's not an imperialism of nation. It's not a nation imperialism. It's an imperialism of a certain kind of idea. You could call it the idea of force. You can call it the idea of domination. The fact that if I can dominate you, I dominate you, and that's all there is to it. You submit just on the basis of that. That's the only basis of my domination, the fact that I can dominate you. So it's that. It's an empire of force without humanity, force without vision, and force without constraint. And that's what I wanted to express, and something I feel elements of it in our times.
Well, I think I'm about to disappoint you, and because I was reminded of a particular individual.
Ah.
You know, when he says things like, "I am the greatest leader history has ever known," and take this down and send it. The people need to know what I'm thinking the moment I think it.
I can think of many leaders who were like that. Can think Stalin was like that in his own way. Mm-hmm. Mao was like that in his own way. There were many leaders who thought they were the greatest and wanted the world to know what they were thinking at the moment they thought it. Hitler was notoriously, in love with the idea of sharing his most recent thoughts with the public. So it's not. We even have dictators in Africa who shared the same megalomaniac idea of the utmost importance of their most recent thoughts. You can pick many figures from recent and ancient history.
At risk of getting into hot water, this one has a wall, a proliferating wall. Tell me about the wall.
Well, there are many walls. there are many walls. You have to understand that Waking the Warriors is not. It's not a realistic novel. Nobody would think that from any of the things we've been talking about. It's a metaphorical novel. It's a novel in which I translate many of my concerns and many of our concerns about our times into images and make coherence out of those images through narration. We've got many walls in our times, Tim. We've got walls keeping people out. We've got financial walls that keep people poor. We've got many kinds of walls. For me, the wall here is a moving metaphor for anything that divides the people.
And oppresses them as well.
Oppresses them and divides them, and also deifies itself. The most important thing about the wall for me in this novel is the self-deification of the wall as an aspect of power.
Okay. The quest. Our three main heroes come together. They meet and they set out on this quest. And their instruction, as far as it exists, is go east, seek the warriors. And there are strange figures sort of lying in pods all over. I don't know if it's all over the world or just Neverreach.
Well, the story is set in Neverreach,
yeah,
so it's in Neverreach. Is it again too naive to ask who are the warriors? And is this what we're looking for? Are these people, these sort of figures in the pods, the warriors that we're supposed to wake? It is. No, not necessarily. The figures in the pods are the elements of myth, the elements of a profound past, the elements of you could almost think of them as lost ideas, lost potentials of a civilization, lost dreams, lost possibilities of a civilization, frozen in these pods. There are many ways of. It's an imagistic novel.
That's a sort of more English magic, isn't it? Because
But
we
that's
have.
what I said that earlier.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because yes, in Europe, especially North Europe, sort of warriors lying under hills
Yes,
and ready
yes.
to return.
Ready to, as the myth says, will return when the trumpet of so and so awakens them. Yes, yeah. But you see, the myth here, I'm borrowing the myth for the purposes of narrative possibilities. The warriors don't actually have to be physical warriors in this book. The warriors could be a new kind of confidence that people feel about their humanity. The warriors could be a new way in which people see themselves. So the theme that runs through the book, there's a refrain that runs through the book. We're going to wake the warriors. We're going to wake the warriors. You have to. It has to be. When you read it, it becomes like a chant that works its way through the book, so that waking the warriors. We don't know if it's the pods specifically, or if it's the warriors in the lands, the warriors in the people, the forgotten warriors in the history of the people. All of these things are being touched upon in the poetic chant of the novel.
There's an underground world as well, full of vaguely Ophidian.
Tim, you are proving that you read this book quite properly. I'm impressed.
I really enjoyed it. It's captivating. I want to know about the underground people. They slough their skins like serpents every 7 years. And to the snake people, the world above was not a real world. It was where you were sent when the gods wanted to punish you. What about that? I'm not going to ask you what it means, because obviously that we've been that way. You don't have a neat but what is the underground world for?
The underground world isn't for anything. It is just there as an unseen aspect of our reality. It's an unseen world. It's many traditions. Again, this is a book in which I'm evoking many lost traditions in this book because I'm trying to tell a story about the necessity of a people to wake up to what is happening to them in the world and to the qualities that they're going to need to deal with it in order to survive as a people and go forward into the future as a renewed people. That was my brief to myself. You know, the world is not great. We're under a cloud. We're confused. We're confused by many things. Many things are coming at us. We've lost some elements of our identity. We're shaken by eruptions in the world. You know, what do we do? What do we do? How do we overcome these forces coming at us? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to wake up the warriors, whoever they are, whatever they are. The next thing we must do is understand the levels of the dimensions in which we operate, because we tend to forget that. People tend to forget how deep their history, their traditions, and their consciousness is. They tend to operate only from the surface, the superficial level of their current history. But there's always more to a people than that. And so to be able to truly wake up the warriors, one needs to be aware of all the levels. And one of the levels that we're completely unaware of is this underground level that you talked about, the level of the serpent people.
And of course, when the point of going to find the witch is that the witch has secret knowledge, which is, as you say, serpent wisdom. It's the knowledge of the depths of the underground.
Yes, absolutely. She has knowledge of the underworld. Yeah, she has knowledge of the underground, the knowledge of the dead. She has knowledge of that which we do not see, the chthonic powers, to use a big fancy Greek word.
We like that. I want to touch on another sort of practical scene it's a series of scenes within the book. They come to an inn. that turns into a castle and confuses them. It is like a fable. In fact, I will quote, "They walked down a corridor that smelled of old fairy tales." That's awfully good, because we know exactly what it's like. But what is this castle? What is it there for?
You're asking me the therefore question.
Oh, sorry. Well, I wrote another quote down.
Yes.
If you want me to.
It's again, like I said to you, this novel has been constructed around. When I said earlier that I wrote this under a cloud of a sense of censorship, a kind of, what happens is you write this indirect narration. You write this narration that's full of hints and suggestions, that's full of images. And the in-stroke castle is one of those. What is a castle? A castle is in some ways a structure of power, it's a structure of class. But in this particular case, they go into this place that was an inn that becomes a castle, and it becomes a place in which they're almost imprisoned. It becomes a place of hallucinations. It becomes a place, almost an unconscious world, in which the things that they fear most is what seduces them most.
You call it the castle of anticipated desires.
That's what one person calls it.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm drawing upon an almost forgotten tradition in English literature, where there's a castle perilous. There are these places in certain myths where the hero goes and they're tried or they're weakened or they meet unlikely aspects of their fate, and they either fail or they succeed, and they're unable to continue their quest. This is very much part of the quest tradition. It's not quite the Chapel Perilous, but it is something like that. All the Grail legends have a place.
The book is very respectful of the quest tradition.
Of the great quest tradition,
yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a boat
absolutely.
journey as well, which again comes in, and that's where they come across the liminal map.
Liminal map.
Yes. The boat. I was sure it was important, the boat journey. I wasn't completely sure why, except within that sort of necessary, the things that have to happen, wasn't it?
Yes. The things that have to happen to the characters, the way in which they have to be shaken. Also, it's also the element in which they operate in. It's the element of water. And the element of water has many dimensions to it. It's got the dimensions of absorbance, but it's also got the dimensions of turbulence. There's nothing quite like a sea in its full rage to express the tempest conditions of the world. So that turbulence, that shaken element, that element of instability, but happening on the terrain of water, was very, very crucial. Each aspect, each dimension of the four alchemical points of earth, water, air, and fire, each had to be directly or indirectly evoked and worked through in some way. And the boat is a great Grail trope. I mean, the boat is us, isn't it? The boat is the bark of life itself. The boat is us making our way through life. That boat goes all the way back to the ancient Egyptians, who had the sun itself as a bark traveling across the sky. So we're dealing with old archetypes, and I really had to bring out all the old guns. Because of the size of the threat that I feel is facing us. I genuinely feel that we're at a crossroad moment in the history of humanity. And if we get through this, we might stand a chance of making a new humanity for the world, a new possibility for the world. But it is dicey. I'm not so sure that we will. I'm not so sure that we're being honest about the size of the threats facing us on a climate level, environmental level, financial level, the level of humanity, refugees, power, wars.
I was going to ask if you thought it's an optimistic book, but I'm not sure you can answer that either, can you?
No, I'm not sure that I can. But the fact that they can set out on their quest, the fact that they can make that journey, in spite of everything, in spite of all the trials, in spite of the deadliness of the castle, and the tempest of the boat, in spite of the death everywhere. That they're able to go on making the journey seems to me to be the beginnings of some kind of hope.
You have a profound sense of the power of writing, don't you? You think it matters and you think it can make differences.
Yes, I do. I do. I think writing is one of the primal powers. We've lost that because our world is saturated with writing. You look out of the window now, a bus goes past and you see advertisements, you see words there, newspapers, signboards, words are everywhere. So it seems because of this ubiquity of words that words are not powerful. But literature, writing with intent, writing with a great sense of concentration of power and theme and vision, what it is you want to achieve with it, is one of the ancient powers. It's one of the unseen and unspoken powers of our world. It can reorientate our destination. It can change the way we see things. It can lift us from a place of the pit of hell into a new place of possibilities. Writing can just reorganize the trapped condition of our mental landscape, and that's all it takes. In alchemy, one sliver, one tiny pinch of the philosopher's stone is enough.
Or in this case, just the right word.
Just the right word, just the right image, just the right energy behind the mythology that you're working with. Because it's also the power of writing is not just the words on the page, it's also the powers that it calls upon in us. And we're deep, every human being is deep in traditions, whether we're well-read or not. We have all these traditions inside us that we don't know about. We've got all of these images, we've got all of these archetypes sleeping in us that we don't know about. And a good piece of writing can call upon these things that we don't know about and give them a shape and give them a form, give them a thought, give them a smell. And a little thing like that can be the beginning of a liberation. I've experienced it many times in my life.
We have been talking about Waking the Warriors by Ben Okri, published by Head of Zeus at £18.99. Ben, thank you very much. That was fantastic.
Tim, it's been a wonderful conversation. You drive a good conversation. I love that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next time we'll be with Helen Lewis, who had a huge success last year with The Genius Myth. The paperback is out now, and she'll be joining us to talk about it next.
That was the Books Podcast, presented by Tim Haig. Email Tim on tim@bookspodcast.com, Twitter @bookspodcast, and Facebook @bookspodcasttim.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That was really interesting. Very lively. I hope you don't mind my naive questions too
No, I
much.
love it. Your questions are never naive. And they're the kind of questions that your audience would like to have asked.
I'm quite good about asking questions that...
How do you do that?
Well, because I'm interested. Well, as you observed, I took the bother to read the book.
You did.
So it's a real pleasure to meet you.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to meet you. I've heard so much about you, Tim.
Oh, really? Thanks. I can't imagine who from.
From writers, my friend.
Is that right?